Hey everyone, Kelly here, and we're almost halfway through 2026, which kind of blows my mind because it feels like we just started this year. But since we're halfway, I decided to do a book haul. My goal this year was to buy less than last year. Last year I bought 99 books, and so far at June I have bought 26 books this year. So even if I were to buy the same amount about in the second half of the year, if I got to 50, that would still be half of what I bought last year, which would be much better because I felt like 9,900, was too many to have purchased in 1 year. So I think 50 is a much better goal to be reaching towards, or not really reaching. I don't really need to hit that, but I want to stay under that, I guess I should say. And my other goal was to only be really buying my book of the month books, continuing in series, or occasionally buying things from my local bookstores because I obviously want to support them and buy from local bookstores. I did that except for I did buy one thing from Amazon. That's because my local bookstore did not have a particular book that was like a backlist book that had been originally indie published. So I did get that from Amazon. But other than that, I have bought my book of the month books pretty much every month. I don't think I skipped a month this year, and I usually get 2 a month because I'll find a second one I want. And then I have gone to I have 2 local bookstores that I've gone to each a couple times. So let's get into it. And the first thing that I purchased, I actually just have the cover because I already loaned this out to somebody, even though I haven't read it. I actually loaned it out to the person that gave me the gift card in which I bought this. I had bought this as a Christmas present to myself. My boss had given all of the admins a gift card, and I bought this book with it. And then my boss had asked for a good book to take with her on vacation, and I gave her this book even though I hadn't read it yet. So this is The Correspondent by Virginia Evans, and everybody was talking about this last year, which is why I purchased it, but I wasn't getting into it at that moment, so I loaned it out. So hopefully before the end of the year I will get this book back and be able to read it. It feels to me almost like it would be a summer kind of read, so hopefully I will get it back from her soon. And this is all told in letters from what I remember. So that was one that I just got because I had heard a lot of people talk about it. The first book I had bought at my local bookstore was A Doll's House and Other Plays by Henrik Ibsen. And this was totally an impulse buy. I have read several of these plays, like A Doll's House, back when I was in college and I was in theater classes. I was a theater minor, and so I guess I had only read A Doll's House because the other 3 that are in here, Pillars of the Community, Ghosts, and Enemy of the People, I have not read yet. And I just want to be reading more plays, and so I had picked up this collection when I saw it there. And then the first book of the month book purchase I bought was, I did not get any of the January picks, but I did get some add-ons. I bought The Wild Huntress by Emily Lloyd Jones, and this is a mythological based, kind of, I think, Celtic based fantasy. And I've been getting really into mythology based fantasies lately, so I picked that one up. I'm in my own kind of process of some personal history learning, and I will be getting to kind of Celtic mythologies and histories, folklore at some point in the next year, and when that happens I'll pick this one up. And then the other book I bought that month was Rebel Witch by Kristen Ciccarelli, and this fulfills my buying sequels. I had read Heartless Hunter at the end of last year, and so I just right away picked up the sequel, and I have already read it. So this is helping me with making sure I finish series. And this is just a fun fantasy. It's like romantasy, but it's young adult, so it's pretty tame in terms of romantasy, but it's a lot of fun, enemies to lovers, witch kind of stuff. Fun. Then the next month for my book of the month, Good People was actually one of the month picks. This is by Padmina Sabit, and I did read this one already. I actually read it right after I got it, which doesn't usually happen with me with book of the month, so I was proud of myself to read it right away. And this one, everyone's talking about it. It was really good. And this is about a family who are immigrants from Afghanistan living in the United States, and kind of something happens, a defining moment happens, and then we are hearing about that, but from everybody else. So we never hear from the family themselves. We hear from their neighbors and from lawyers and from the police and from people who live in the community and friends of the kids and friends of the parents and all that stuff, but we don't ever hear from the family. So it's kind of like a story about, gossip and assumptions people make about other people, and I would highly recommend that one. And then the other one I got that month was The Favorites by Lainey Fargo, and this one was one that people had talked about a lot the year before, or maybe it was even, I don't remember if it was talked about a lot in 2024 or 2025, but I remember a lot of people really loving this book, and with the Olympics and everything, I had wanted to pick it up because it's about ice dancers, and I am still reading this book. I've been reading it for several months. I'm liking it, but it's one that I find is easy to put down because it's separated into sections, and so I'll get to a new section and I kind of put it down for a while. But yeah, that is that one. And then I must not have got to any other local bookstores because we're moving right to the next month of my picks from book of the month, and I had picked The Story Might Save Your Life by Tiffany Crum because everybody was talking about this. It's a mystery thriller type book about two best friends that have a podcast called This Story Might Save Your Life, and the woman Joy goes missing, and so does her husband. And so this goes back and forth in the current timeline where the other podcast host is trying to figure out what happened to Joy and her husband, and then we go back kind of like in time of like seeing their friendship develop and her husband's relationship develop, and this was really good. And then I also got that month Lady Tremaine by Rachel Hockhauser, and this is one I had heard a lot about on the podcast I'm currently reading. One of the hosts really loved this. It was one of her favorite books of last year, and this is a like retelling of Cinderella, but from the wicked stepmother kind of perspective. And so I think it's like, villain origin story, but like the humanity in a villain, I'm assuming, is that kind of the direction it's going to go in. And then the next book of the month club book that I had gotten was Agnes Albert's Mystical Cat Shelter by Heather Fawcett. This is the author that wrote Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, and I really liked that book, and so this seemed like kind of a cozy fantasy, and it has cats, so I picked that one up. And then I had gone to my local bookstore and got a few books here. A couple of these are new releases that I really wanted, and then one I just picked up. So this was a new release I had heard about, Weaving Shawl by Heba Al-Wasiti, and this is a kind of gothic story. I think it might be fantasy, like gothic fantasy. Yeah, gothic fantasy. A young woman who can see the dead strikes a deal with the magnetic and dangerous Saint of Silence. I don't know. I had heard Kayla from Books and Lala talk about it, and it sounded good, and then I saw it in my bookstore, and so I went ahead and picked it up. It had like the naked hardcover is pretty cool, and the end pages, because I try not to buy brand new hardbacks because they're so expensive unless they're from Book of the Month, because then I get a better deal. But this one I was intrigued by and picked it up. The other like new release that I pre-ordered and picked up was Seasons of Glass and Iron by Amal El-Motar, and that's because I read The River Has Roots in January and gave it 5 stars, and there was a short story in that I absolutely loved, and so I knew that I really wanted to read the rest of her short stories, and so this is a collection. I think these stories were published over time, so it has that story that was in A River Has Roots, and then some other ones that would have been in like, magazines and things like that, published other places, but I wanted to get the collection to read. And then the other book I picked up that time was The Sun and the Star Maker by Rachel Griffin. If you have seen my most recent wrap-up, you know that I have like kind of a weird thing about like buying Rachel Griffin's books, but then not always loving them. Like I really loved the first one I read, and then just had like an okay time with the next two. So this is the last time I'm going to buy one until I read this, and then if I love it, then I'll know maybe I will try out another one. But if I don't love this book, then I'm probably done with Rachel Griffin. But this is a standalone fantasy that I think is like the sun falls in love with the star. I don't know. I am not sure because it says the sun fell in love with her star maker. I'm not really sure exactly what this is about, but like I said, I really love the first book I read by her, so I keep picking up her books. And then the next month for Book of the Month, I got a couple books again. I got Yesteryear by Carol Claire Burke, because this is like the book that's everywhere this year about, a trad wife, YouTuber or Instagrammer or whatever that goes back into like that time period. And I've heard there's like twists and turns and a lot of interesting things happening here. And I just want to know for myself how I'm going to feel about it, because this seems to be like the book that everyone is reading. So we'll see how I feel about it. The other one I got that month was The Ending Writes Itself by Evelyn Clark. This is another one that got heavy press so far this year, and I really wish I had not fallen into the hype, because I read this and I really didn't like it. It's a mystery, like a bunch of authors go to this island because they think that they're going on like kind of a writing retreat, then find out they're actually being tasked to write the ending to a mystery novel where the author had died before he finished the book. And then, you know, murder ensues and it's a murder mystery, but it just was boring and I didn't like it. And I wish I hadn't fallen into the hype and gotten it. At least I didn't pay the full like $30 new price. And then I just picked up a random book at a grocery store. It was so weird. I was at this grocery store in the middle of nowhere and they had a pile of random books. They weren't even like on a shelf. They were just in a bin, and they were mostly like children's books. And then this book was in there. And I've wanted to read a book by Jesmyn Ward, so I picked it up. It's Let Us Descend. And I don't even really know what this one is. I just have wanted to read Jesmyn Ward. It says it's a reimagining of American slavery, as beautifully rendered as it is heart-wrenching. So yeah, I've just heard good things about this author and I wanted to give her a try, and it was $6 at a local grocery store. And then I picked up The Odyssey. And I did that because I had recently read the Iliad, and I like Emily Wilson's translation, so I knew I wanted to pick up The Odyssey at some point. But then the movie of The Odyssey is coming out this summer. I don't know if it's already out. I probably won't watch it in theaters, so I'm not worried that I haven't read this yet. I'll kind of wait until it's streaming somewhere, but I know I want to read this before I end up watching the movie, so I bought it. Sometime this summer, probably I'll pick it up and read that. And then kind of going along with Greek mythology, at my local bookstore, I was wandering around and I picked up this book, No Friend to This House by Natalie Haynes. Natalie Haynes always does like kind of Greek mythology kind of stories, and this one is the myth of Medea. So I'm sure it's gonna be tragic, since the original story of Medea is pretty tragic. So I wanted to pick up this version of that. Okay, and then the next month of Book of the Month, this was one of the picks, Seek the Traitor's Son by Veronica Roth. This is the author of Divergent, and I haven't read one of her more newer adult books, so I haven't read anything by her since Divergent. I wasn't like the hugest Divergent fan, but I've been hearing some good things about this one, and it seemed interesting. Seems like, okay, the daughter of a bounty hunter, the knight sworn to protect her, the prophecy that destroys their life. So I think it's fantasy, and just wanted to give it a try, see what she's writing nowadays. And then as my add-on that month, I got The Shippers by Catherine Center. Already read this and gave it 5 stars. Loved it. This is a childhood friends to lovers, kind of definitely rom-com. They're on a cruise ship and a lot of antics happen. A lot of kind of somewhat fake dating, more like fake like flirting to get like somebody to pay attention to her that turns into, you know, real flirting. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. A great like kind of summer romance fun book. And then was the book that I had to get from Amazon, A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking by T. Kingfisher. I just want to eventually be a T. Kingfisher completist and read all of her books. And so was gonna buy New Goblins, which was coming out, but then I was like, you know, I haven't owned this book. And it was an older one that she had written that is independently published, so I had to buy it online. And this is supposed to be kind of a middle grade, young adult kind of one that she has written that has baking, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Might even read it with my daughter. And then the other T. Kingfisher that I got was 9 Goblins, A Tale of Low Fantasy and High Mischief. And so this one was actually one she had written in the past, so like this was a backlist that she had written and published independently, and now it's getting published by Tor.com, and I've heard that it's fun and silly, and look at the little end pages. So I definitely wanted to pick it up because I just want to eventually own all of her books and read them, so needed to pick up that one. And then I got The Deal by Elle Kennedy because I have not seen the show, but I had seen like clips from the show and people like kind of enjoying the show. I can't remember what the show is. The show called Off Campus. And I'm not even like a hockey romance person. I don't know why I picked this up, and I probably won't read it right now. I'll probably wait till hockey season. Like, I live in a place where hockey is a really big deal, so I'll probably wait till hockey season to read it. But yeah, it's a hockey romance that was written a while ago, and I think it's just now like getting republished because of the show. Yeah, it came out in 2015, so over 10 years old, but new cover coming out. So someday I will get to that one. And then I picked up A Cozy Fantasy, The Faraway Inn by Sarah Beth Durst. I have a thing where I think I'm gathering all of her books, but then not reading them, because I have The Spell Shop and The Enchanted Greenhouse, and now her newest, like, cozy fantasy. I think it's about a girl who goes to visit her great aunt's B&B, and she, you know, finds things that she wasn't expecting there. And I've heard it's cute. I heard it's cozy and magic filled, so hopefully I'll actually get around to finally reading some of these Sarah Beth Durst that I seem to be collecting. And then another one that I had bought, I had pre-ordered this, City of Iron and Ivy by Thomas Kent West, and that's because this is a local, like, Minnesotan author, and he is friends with somebody I work with, and she was the one that brought it to my attention. She's like, oh, my friend wrote a book, he's getting it traditionally published, and I think it would be right up your alley. And I do think this could be right up my alley, especially since, if you notice, the blurb is by T. Kingfisher. So, I mean, the fact that his new book got blurred by her is pretty awesome. And I think part of the reason it was blurred by T. Kingfisher, because I think it's got horror elements, so it's fantasy with a little romance that has horror, like, kind of heavy on the horror elements. And I think it's botanical horror, so makes sense. And I think that it'll be fun. I've heard it's also like a mystery as well, so I'm hoping to get around to that soon, because I think that the author will end up coming up here to do a signing at some point, so I would like to have read it by then. And then another book I picked up from my local bookstore is Score by Kennedy Ryan. I've just heard people talk about Kennedy Ryan for a while now, and I keep meaning to read one of her books. And I know some of her most famous ones are like kind of, there was one that was like a second chance, like marriage kind of story, and I wasn't necessarily interested in that at this moment. So I ended up picking up this one. I did look online. I think this is actually a second in a series, but since, you know, romances, usually it doesn't matter if you've read the other ones, because it's like a minor character in the other story. But this is like a second chance romance about two people that dated, I think, at college, and now they're meeting again because one of them, I think one is a singer and the other one, yeah, a musician and a screenwriter, and they end up like pairing up for a work project, and then they had dated previously. And then my last one is my most recent June Book of the Month books. So I had gotten The Shrouded Queen by Ashley Tropia as my pick, and this is a romantasy, I believe. And I think it's like, I feel like it, they said that maybe it has some Egyptian mythology in it, and the cover was pretty, so I fell for the pretty cover, and I'm hoping it's good, because romantasy is really hit and miss with me, but I thought because it has the like mythology kind of element that I'm hoping I will actually like it. And then the other one I got as an add-on was The Misconnection by Tia Williams. I had read 7 Days in June, and I liked it, but I didn't love it because of, there was a lot of like drug elements that I wasn't like keen on. And then I didn't read her second one, which that, or maybe it wasn't her second book, but like a book that had come out recently that everybody was loving, and I just hadn't read it yet. And so when I saw this one, I was like, I would like to give Tia Williams another chance. What was the other? Oh, Love Song for Ricky Wilde was the other one that came out like in the last 2 years that people were liking. So I thought, time to give Tia Williams another shot. And this is about a woman who meets a man on a flight and like doesn't get his information and then wants to hunt him down, kind of like a serendipity type of thing. And I will just say, and I've heard a lot of people say this in Goodreads, what is this cover? This is a very strange cover. So I almost didn't buy the book because of the cover, but I'm like, that's not Tia Williams' fault. I want to see what's inside the book, but it is kind of a strange choice of cover. But yeah, so those are the books, the 26 books that I have so far purchased in 2026. Oh, 26 and 2026. And I have read 5 of them, and I'm in the middle of another one. So not terrible. That's one. I just like lost that. It's 1/5. My goodness. But it's not terrible of like how many. And I definitely have some plans for some of these in this year. So hopefully by the end of the year, I will have read some more of these. And often what I do though is end up reading them in the next year. That's kind of like what has become habit, but I like to also be reading some in the year about them. And that's it for me. If you've read any of these books and you think I should get to them sooner, let me know down below, and I'll see you next time. Bye.